Hello, Julie.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm deep in the underworld with Venus.
Aren't we all? Isn't that the moment? This is it. This is just in case anyone needs a reference. This is the period of Venus in the underworld. It's
It's,
exact on Sunday the 13th, but Venus is invisible and she's close to the sun. She's combust the sun probably right now, and soon to be conjunct and then to
to ride,
transform to the morning rising star. Yeah.
right? Because we've been talking about this in our previous videos of the journey that Venus takes, where she is in the evening star and then she recedes back, or it seems that she recedes back based on what we see from Earth. And she,
Everything in astrology is appearances. Don't you worry about that.
and then she's about to just be in exact same place as the sun, which is called the Kazemi. And is this where you would say like the crux? Is this like the climax of the movie where
It's the turning point.
the turning point? Okay.
Yeah. And everybody who's, tuned in should take at least some time on Sunday or Saturday, Sunday, Monday to really tune in to what Venus is saying or what the transformation is in our own lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful, I mean, Venus's values, right? Venus is love and beauty, but Venus's values and relationship, and out of our values grows our economics, collectively. So it's a very big, this Venus retrograde is a very powerful time to be really, I don't know, raking through the coals
Mm-hmm.
of what we have always valued versus what really matters.
Yeah. And I think it's a good exercise for us to think about what really matters.
Yeah.
Def- So this is the time where we can have realizations. We could be confronted with truths, or we could just understand something, or just
But the
not.
realizations don't need to be in a blaze of glory.
Right. They don't have to, like, the skies don't have to open in this, and the
No,
angels go, oh. It could be.
realizations are just kind of like, oh,
Mm,
uh,
mhm. And it can be even sometimes you don't even notice that you made the realization, but you act on it anyway and start to move in that direction.
that's right.
And
And
that's cool.
so the entrenchment of the values of our culture are crumbling because of, I mean, look what's happening in Hawaii. Maui is burning. People were jumping into the ocean to get away from the fire.
Mm-hmm.
They're sending tourists somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
right? And nobody was prepared for that. In Hawaii, nobody thought that a hurricane that wouldn't even come near their shore could blow the wind enough to do this fire thing. But there it is. So that's the backdrop against which Venus, I mean, it's a perfect thing. So, you go to Hawaii for a holiday. Like, who doesn't go to Hawaii for a holiday if they can, right? And there you are, with your little, I don't know, your drink with an umbrella in it or your surfboard or whatever it is, and suddenly
You're
um
jumping in the ocean to get away from a fire. Yeah.
to survive a fire. Yeah. So I think that's Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus. Taurus is just like reality fights. And Leo is, hey, I got this ticket, I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not so much about travel, it's just about doing the thing that's creative and expansive. And you can't fault people for having Leo impulses. It's just that the Leo impulse is meeting the Taurus reality. And yeah, it's quite intense.
So, oh, I didn't realize Jupiter and Uranus are conjunct each other, and then they're squaring Venus.
Jupiter and Uranus are not conjunct yet. Jupiter is in the first half of Taurus, and Uranus is in the second half of Taurus. Uranus is at 23, Jupiter is at, I don't know, 14, 15.
Right, right.
And Jupiter's, it's fascinating. So Venus squares Uranus 3 times, once before, once during, once after.
Mm.
And then, you know, when the sun's going to conjunct that degree shortly, sun's going to square Uranus on the 15th of August. So, you know, there's constant little bursts of hitting this stuff. And then Jupiter is going to retrograde back to 15 degrees and make a station within 24 hours of Venus retrograding back to 12 degrees. And
Oh,
so their stations on the same day basically are going to square each other. So that's even a more intense square. And that's
oh,
why I keep talking about the fact that we're just busy having a holiday or doing something expansive, something that Venus and Leo would love, right? And it's like, I mean, I have to say in my own life, it's been a little bit more sedate. I just have too many knitting projects.
that's a Jupiter thing, having too many, too much. Like,
Yeah, so the Venus and Leo is, oh my God, I want to make this sweater for this person and this blanket for this person and this other blanket for this person. And it's like, so suddenly my house is full of these, you know, potential knitting. Leo, right? It's creative for me. It's a creative kind of thing. And then what I really wish is I could, you know, do needlepoint, not needle, needle felting and make my little dolls and stuff. And
no, is
it's
that
just
because I
nice.
see like I having a strong Jupiter, like one of my problems is that I get so enthusiastic about things and I say yes to everything, just like the Jim Carrey Yes Man movie. That movie cracks me up because it's like totally Jupiter. Like, yeah, let's do that. And
Yeah,
then before I
totally
know
Jupiter.
it, I've like got too many things happening and I'm overwhelmed because of all the yeses that I've done and all the excited things that I've done. So
Yeah.
is that like Leo and squaring Jupiter? Is that the Jupiter and the Leo together or
Yeah, but it's the reality that there's only so much you can do in the space-time reality that we exist in. And, you know, my knitting is no big deal.
no, I,
I'll get everything knitted sooner or later.
but it's a
Um, but
manifestation.
but
Yeah.
the fire in Hawaii is the big deal. The fact that the climate and the world is having this one, it is going in one direction, and Venus in Leo is saying, but I, you know, it's summer,
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
right? And so it's very, I think there's a lot of grief in people, and that I don't think it makes me that popular to suggest that we turn towards our grief, but I think that we are all feeling a deep held grief about the planet that we can't, you know, if you're in the fire, you can feel it, right? Because you're, but if you're, you know, sitting pretty in Toronto where nothing really is happening, thank God, or thank whatever, the powers, the gods, um, then it's like a theoretical exercise. But
Hmm.
is it really theoretical if it's your planet? That's
Yeah.
it.
I wondered, I was thinking yesterday, I just heard on the radio about about how many job losses there's going to be because of AI, and we all know about this the actor strike. That could also be Venus retrograde, considering actors are, the archetype of Leo. And not just
It's
that,
absolutely the actors, the strike of the actors and writers and everything is absolutely Venus and Leo square the Taurus stuff.
right, right, because and not just, not just actors, like even high white collar jobs, in danger of being lost to AI. And
Sure, astrology can be done by AI, not very well, but well enough, cheaper.
it's true. It's true. I'm just praying that massage isn't taken over by AI.
Thumpers, remember
I know
Thumpers?
they don't even compare though.
They don't compare. I once had a friend who invited me over to sit in his massage chair, and it massaged like your whole body, and
And
it
then it
was,
like
yeah, it was great. You could set it to do different things, but it was not a person. It
no,
was,
I mean
when
it's
it was done,
okay.
it was like,
Yeah, it's okay in
yeah.
a pinch, but anyway, I just was thinking like, well, why are we doing this? Like, why are we alive? If we're like, why are we giving all the jobs to AI when like why are we doing this? It's for humans. Like, why are we alive if we're just not caring
Because
about?
you can't hold it back. You have to keep figuring out how to use it.
Mhm.
And I think I'm reading an incredible book that everyone should read called The Patriarchs. And it's about patriarchy and how it came into being.
Hmm.
But it's not your usual, usual. And I'm reading the part now where she compares working women in behind the Iron Curtain in Eastern, Europe, and the Western ones, and how whatever else you can say about communism, women are allowed and expected to have careers, to do the work that they want, that fulfills them, to be engineers or doctors or whatever. And the statistics are, way better than for comparable in the West, where women have so much freedom. I don't know, we can vote, but we have to earn less money, and the women don't earn less money. And that even after communism fell, she's not trying to turn us into communists, but she's trying to show where the change actually comes from. And I mean, the Eastern European communist experiment was pretty awful and brutal. Like, it's left bad remnants. But the one thing it has done is it's given women, nobody questions that women have the right to be doctors and lawyers and whatever they want to be.
Right. Yeah, they would be curious to understand more about how that fit into the system. I don't quite understand how that works.
Well, you have to read the book. I'm not the expert on this, but I'm totally fascinated by the way this woman is taking me through my thinking and the things I thought were true about how patriarchy happened.
Mm.
I don't know if she's asking questions. I don't know if she's going to have an answer. I don't think so, but it's not a radically different perspective. It's a more full perspective on how we got here. But every time there is an invention that humans do, like the printing press or, the Industrial Revolution, people lose jobs, and then they figure out how people can have jobs. This is a very scary one. I'm not for AI. Trust me, I hate it. I
Mhm.
hate it. I never want to be the person in the supermarket who checks out on those automatic checkout things.
Mhm.
Right. Um, so I think we just don't know how to use it. We haven't figured out what to do with it. And then we have greedy, disconnected people who are, in charge of it. It's tricky. I
Yeah.
think AI will probably be this terrifying, cyborg fear. But then in 2025, Uranus is going to go into Gemini. And Uranus and Gemini should whip some AI issues into shape, I think, over those 7 years.
Why Uranus and Gemini
Well,
whipping?
Uranus is okay, so right now Uranus is in Taurus,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
it's
Bumping up
it's
again.
about real things, right? It's revelations about climate change, really, is what it is. But in Gemini is all about communication, and Gemini is all about these tools that we've created for the mind.
Right.
And Uranus will come and say, no, you do it this way,
Right.
right? So it'll be interesting. I mean, hopefully it'll be for the good, but
Right.
I have no control over that.
Yeah. Well, it'll be curious. I think it's to your point, it's not AI itself, it's the greedy people that are willing to just put money ahead of
Mhm.
humans. That's it, right? Like it's the consciousness with which it's used. It's not the AI, it's the consciousness that we use it with. So
So there's two things I'd like to say about Uranus.
all right. Yeah.
One is that the next new moon on August 16th, oh dear, I wrote it in my calendar as the 18th. On the 16th of August, there is a new moon at 5:38 a.m. in Eastern time, and it will square Uranus. It will be at 23 degrees of Leo, and Uranus will be at 23 degrees of Taurus,
Oh my
exact
goodness.
square. So it's good. So it's a new moon. It's not a full moon. So where this is, so the crux of the Venus retrograde is on August 13th, and this new moon, which is cruxing all on its own, is on the 16th. It's the same deal. It's the same thing, right? And it's really, for us, mere mortals, it's really about how our longing to, for Leo to have everything bright, shiny, and good is intersecting, if I may use that word, or colliding with the realities of our circumstance.
Okay.
Right?
That's very
And
clear. Yeah.
if you're someone who was born with Leo Taurus squares, you've had to deal with intense frustration, right? You've had to deal with real um, implosions of rage and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of fire, there's a lot of danger, there's God knows war growing in every continent.
Yeah.
So the new moon is a time to really affirm or intend, not out of trying to control your future, but where you stand in those issues in your own life. I have
Right.
to say, for me personally, doing this journey has been very helpful.
Mhm.
I feel like I am finally standing in the world and in the reality of the life that I'm living.
Wow, that's very powerful.
It's been very powerful. It's been very difficult. The move and everything. It's been very difficult. Not to mention being 75, but it's like all those things colliding for me has been like, I don't wanna, right? And it's like, oh, all right, I finally landed. My feet are actually on this ground. See, and I'm just fortunate. Although I keep at it. I'm like, yeah, I keep at it.
Yeah.
So the other thing I want to, what?
That's just a very helpful understanding of Leo square Taurus type situations where they're both fixed signs. They both are a bit obstinate. They they both like they want to, do their will, and it's like a lesson in how do you, in the frustration of like acceptance and the using the fixedness to stay present
Right,
rather than to force the will, right?
right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like if you keep trying to solve the problem with this same thinking that got you into the mess, you will not solve the problem,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what we're struggling with. We don't know how to change. So people talk about pivoting and all that stuff. I think that not that I don't mean to dismiss it. Of course, we need to pivot, but it's only the pivoting we do in our personal, like my ability to finally land here ripples out and makes anyone who comes in touch with me, it makes it a little easier,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's not just that I feel better, it's that everything I do that emanates from me comes out of that sense of better. Everybody needs to figure out how to be present to the world they're in. And I think to do it, you have to deal with grief. You
Mhm.
have to deal, it's like someone's dying. It's
Yeah.
the planet, but it is it dying? We don't think the planet's going to really die, but our way of life is dying. And that's
Yeah.
Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus squaring Venus retrograde.
Yeah, and if it's not like if it's not the planet that's first and foremost in your mind, um, it's still people's lives have changed. People's lives and the way they've done things through the many shifts and changes and um movements of the last 3 years. Everybody feels that things are not the same, you know.
Well, the cost of a banana,
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
price of a lemon,
yeah,
right? Like, oh
yeah.
my God.
So it's
I
just
actually went into a store the other day, there were no avocados,
right, right.
right?
So somebody somebody I know told me they went into a movie theater and there was just nothing there. And
Uh-huh.
like how usually everything's full of candy and they said, yeah, the supplying company just went bankrupt, so they didn't deliver anything.
there you go. No
Right.
popcorn.
Yeah, so we're grieving popcorn. No, but just the grief of everything having changed and then realizing it. I think I notice a lot of people are in that awareness that and then therefore grief, right?
Yeah,
Therefore,
grief is appropriate. Grief
yeah.
is appropriate. It's not something to avoid. It won't be forever grief. Once Venus becomes entrenched as the morning star, by the time it actually squares Jupiter on September 3rd, 4th, in those stations, it's not about grief. It's about, what are you going to do? It's about determination.
Okay. We get to move.
No, it's a process. It's not, nothing ever stands still. Venus does not live in grief. Venus, there's an appropriate time for it, and that's now. And then there will be a time of determination. So the new moon on the 16th is very much asking us what we're determined to do. What does determination mean for me?
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it's not just that I'm going to impose my will on everything.
Right.
I'm going to make the outside world conform to my view of it, because that's pretty lame. The other thing I want to say, and I don't have a lot to say about this just yet, but this will be next year. I realize that next year Uranus is going to conjunct Algol,
Oh,
the fixed star Algol, which has to do with powerful, natural, intense reactions. It's like, I think of Algol as the rage of nature, right? Nature is, or the rage of people at what's happened to nature. It's very powerful. It's power, but it's this power that has to do with no, right? Not, you can't do this. So I think it's interesting to think about Uranus approaching Algol in 2024. It won't be until the spring, summer, but
what degree is Algol at?
it's 25, 26 Taurus.
So that's
I
like,
use it from 24 to 26 because it moves, very slowly, but
right.
it moves a little. But you can leave a very tight orb. But Uranus is going to station next year at 27 Taurus. So it's going to be 25, 26, 27, 26, 25 for months.
Right. Right. And so that fixed star Algol represents that. And then Uranus comes along with its energy, which is revolutionary, explosive, surprising, shocking, revelating,
Right.
and so it's the two of them together are going to
And
cause.
and Jupiter is in that zone. So Jupiter and Uranus will conjunct each other in April, towards the third week of April, on the 21st or the 20th of April, first day of Taurus. Jupiter and Uranus will finally meet up and conjunct each other, and that will be at 20. Where is that? That will be at 21 degrees of Taurus, and then Jupiter will go on. Jupiter will conjunct Algol, but for a moment, and then it'll keep going. But then Uranus will get stuck there.
Okay, then we'll see some situations. We'll report on that as it occurs.
Yeah, but I think it's worth thinking about when there's this kind of activation of the Venus retrograde squaring Uranus and the new moon squaring Uranus. I think it's worth thinking about.
Yeah, there's some really strong themes that are starting to set themselves up now that we can.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we should mention is that on August 23rd, which is the first day of Virgo, Mercury is going retrograde in Virgo.
Oh, great.
So, so the goddess speaks.
Okay. So just understanding Mercury retrograde and that Virgo, like Mercury rules Virgo. So it's like extra communication and detail, the information needing extra revision, extra review, extra careful communications, basically.
And consideration, yeah.
Consideration, yeah.
So it's a really good time when you think about it. Virgo amplifies in a positive way everything Taurus, right? So Mercury is going to go retrograde not exactly trining Uranus, but pretty close. And then it's going to go direct, kind of trining Jupiter. Jupiter will be retrograding back to the degree of so Mercury's saying, okay, you guys, let's look at what we could do.
Yeah, like so we might get some good analysis talking about Virgo being and Mercury in Virgo, getting some really good analysis and review, because you mentioned Mercury retrograde is great for teaching.
It's
and
very good for teaching, yeah, and learning.
learning.
Yeah.
So it's not, I think you said it's not so great for people showing up, but it's good for people.
Right. People forget, oh, I thought it was yesterday or tomorrow. Yeah,
But so
that
you would
happens.
get some good commentary and analysis on what's actually happening, which would be nice.
And it's interesting because Virgo doesn't really talk to Leo. Virgo follows Leo. And if Virgo says anything to Leo, it's that, this is a sacred world. You got to clean it up and take care of it. But then it goes on its way. And so Virgo can talk to Taurus directly without involving the Venus retrograde. It's just saying, so what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Think about what you want to do and how you're going to, not just what you want to do, but how you're going to do it. So it's a very good,
Good to know.
yeah,
Yeah.
practical.
It's nice to get some good news too. Yeah.
There's always good news. I mean, yeah, there's not good news if you're a tourist in Maui right now, but maybe there even is. I don't know. Maybe you're learning something uh, that's very, very important in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Uranus does bring evolution to your being, whether you want it or not. It does make you move forward towards evolution. So
People who learn from from situations of high impact are very healthy. People who just, like if PTSD doesn't teach you something, if trauma doesn't teach you something, that's where it's really painful.
right.
But I mean, it's really painful anyway. But if you learn from it, you can integrate it, is what I'm saying.
And that's what Virgo's about too, right? Virgo's about integrating,
Absolutely.
digesting. So maybe there'll be some healthy digestion of whatever traumas or intensities have occurred.
It's definitely what Virgo wants more than anything is integrating what is.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, that's some really deep things to think about until
Deep,
we
very
begin.
deep.
And we should meet to talk about the full moon before that happens. And that's the next full moon's. It's another full moon in Aquarius, right?
No, the full moon on August 30th will be at 7 degrees of Pisces.
Oh, okay. So we made it.
It'll be we're definitely, as of August 23rd, there's definitely more Virgo stuff. So that full moon it doesn't exactly conjunct Saturn, but it's certainly conjuncting the place where Saturn was stationary at 7 degrees of Pisces. So there's a kind of it's kind of like, okay, what does it really mean to be compassionate if you're not doing anything with your compassion? I mean, it's not that everyone has to go out and be a social worker either, but it's very distressing to tune in to things that are happening and not feel that you can at least help by praying for people or doing something, right? It's very, and it varies in terms of your age and stage and ability and all that, what you can do. It's not like we all have to do the same thing.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, we'll get more into that idea once we get closer in a few weeks. But I am looking forward to our ritual that we're doing this Sunday in
Me
celebration
too.
of the Kazemi.
Of Venus, yes, very. I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you on the other side, Julie.
Okay. Bye.